Did you always want to be a frontman?
No, I didn't. I wasn't for when we were talking about the first few years of the group. In fact, right up until the Three Imaginary Boys album, I wasn't the singer. We had 5 different singers, and I only became the singer of The Cure 2 months before we went into the studio. So it's quite funny, really, because in fact it worked probably just because of that. 'Cause I had absolutely I didn't have any flamboyant moves. I had no pelvic thrusts.
You've not been
that
practising
I'd
at home in the bedroom?
No, and I hadn't even been practising my singing. Most things like that, that's very low down the list. But I still don't really think. I mean, whatever I was doing, even up to that point, I was always like taking care of things, I suppose. So I would still be doing that, and I don't know if there are times. I mean, the times when I've joined the Banshees, the 2 times when I've gone off, and particularly the second time when I went off and just did that whole thing with the Banshees 3 and the thing with Severin with the glove. I did that purely because I was completely fed up of being the singer in a group. I just couldn't bear it anymore. I just wanted to be a guitarist again. There's an awful lot of staring goes on being the singer, which most people end up being singers because that's what they want. And I was like pushed into it because everyone else was so horrible. Like I was writing the words and they were singing it, and I was like just standing there, and I would actually stop playing on stage because I was crying. It was so awful. And when I started to sing, I wasn't much better, but I thought, well, at least I can stop singing if I'm really that bad. At least I'll know when to stop. And I used to. I mean, we would do instrumental versions of the songs if I thought that I was singing really badly. Right up, even past the 3, when we were doing like proper concerts in Bristol and places, I would just like stop singing, and people would go, what a weird bloke. It's actually because I hated hearing myself so much that I just had to stop. And that was the one benefit of like not having a lead vocalist. It's also nice having a 3-piece for quite a few years, because it was the people that were involved, it worked. It was a good tension in a 3-piece. And I've never really, I don't know, through the years I've sort of like just grown into the part, really. I think I mean, I say it myself, but I think I sing now. Just in the past couple of records, I can sing how I always wanted to sing. I've actually I've taught myself to sing properly. I no longer sing out of tune. It's a great help. But I can also put a certain amount of emotion into what's basically a very unemotive voice. But the other thing is, a lot of the people that I like, a lot of the singers that I like are girls. There's very few boy singers.
Do you go and see many bands?
No, I tried to. Before we were playing, in fact last year, before we were doing Disintegration concerts, we went out a few places, but I'm not moaning, but it's very difficult for me to go to the groups that I like. There are inevitably quite a lot of people in the audience who know who I am, so it becomes a bit unnatural, I suppose. So I would like to. I'd like the Pixies. When I was driving up here today, they're playing at Brixton. I'd love to go and see them, but I just know that I feel really uncomfortable. There's bound to be someone in the audience that hates the Cure and is going to make a point of coming up to me and telling me so, and it will just ruin the evening. So it's something that I've had to give up, really. So we try and have support bands playing with us, or that's why we did festivals this summer. As part of the reason was actually to see bands that we liked. And I'm sure I'll convince Fiction to have a Christmas party and get a couple of groups to play it. Although not people like the Pixies, but Star Turn perhaps, something like that. I don't know.
Why did you decide to do Mixed Up, to remix and, in a couple of cases, re-record?
A long conversation the other night. So we were redoing the video to Close to Me. When I started thinking about that, when the Close to Me thing came back and everyone was saying this would make a brilliant single and stuff, and I immediately thought, well, we'll have to do a video for it. But then I could see everyone's thinking, well, why are we doing a new video for this? But the whole point of the Mixed Up album and everything that goes with it is that it is different. The whole thing's, it's not, I've gone through agonising arguments, not really arguments, discussions, coming to, just to clarify my own feelings about it, because when it started off it was very much a way of compiling just like old 12-inch mixes for Cure fans. That's all it was going to be. Just like, and when I started listening to them, and the 12 inches that people have been requesting, like Let's Go to Bed and Primary and stuff, I thought even at the time, I didn't think they were very good, and particularly in the current climate, as it is with a lot of dance remixes, and what we have done in the past few years with Why Can't I Be You and Hot Hot Hot, they just didn't stand any comparison. I thought, well, this is going to be a very, very drab album. Everyone's going to say, well, I've got the Cure's original 12-inch remix to Primary, but ultimately for me it's all to do with music. It's got nothing to do with collectability, and musically they just don't stand up. They sound drab. I even remember doing the Primary 12-inch with Mike Hedges and being so fed up with the whole idea because it was keeping us from going down the pub that we just cut a bit of tape and just we were literally just doing it like that, and we sat and listened to it. Yeah, that's great, because in those days, 12 inches didn't really make any difference. It just meant the song was like 2 minutes longer, and it sounds like that. It's awful, and it's like a side of what we've done. That I'm not really that proud of. They were sort of fun, and I thought, well, if the only places that 12 inches were ever heard, we'd go on tour. We used to hear the Primary 12 inch in a club, and everyone was completely out of their face, and you used to think, well, I don't remember it being this long, but they weren't the sort of things that your career stood or fell on, and they certainly weren't artistic statements. Like the singles themselves were what you were doing. They were 7-inch things. So I started to realise that we could, if we were going to do it, we should not that we could, we actually should do a lot more with it, because we're in a position to do anything now. So I thought we may as well set a precedent. We'll get old songs remixed by people that are doing it now, and there have been various combinations of what we've been doing by other people, like in various ways, but never on this sort of scale and this sort of project, to actually take an entire back catalogue of like the bulk of your singles and either release like the 12-inch mixes as they were, re-record them and remix them, use the old versions and remix them, and then just throw one new song in for good measure. It's turned into like a dance marathon, really. It's 12 songs that are, I don't know, it's a very difficult record to talk about, because I got the test pressing about 2 weeks ago, and I only listened to it 2 nights ago, and I hadn't listened to it for about a month until I was just checking over all the gap times and stuff, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And it sounds really stupid me saying this, because I never say this about our records, but I think it's really good, it's a really instant Cure album, and it's not like anything we've done, and because I've had very little to do with the end, the process that get like the actual remixing process, and it's refreshing to me. So I suppose in a way I'm hearing it as a Cure fan would hear it, because I'm hearing it for some, like the mixes I'm hearing for the first time, like when the Paul Oakenfold thing of Close to Me came through, and the one of In Between Days from William Orbit. They literally come through the post to me, and I've taken that and I put them on and I listen, and I think, good grief, and it's just really brilliant. Well, having said that, some of the mixes that we got through were absolutely awful. I mean, they're really, although probably other people would have thought I mean, certainly there's one particular one of the Love Cats, which Chris Parry thinks is, no, it's it. He thinks it's a totally radical remix. It's excellent. To me, it sounds like UB40, which isn't a compliment. I just think it's really drab, and is nowhere near as invigorating as the original. And it's something like In Between Days. There's no conception of whether it's better or not. It's just like a completely. It's just someone taking it and completely mutilating it.
It's actually a brave thing to do when you think about it, doing an album of remixes, because critics of The Cure are going to say, well, there you are, that's it, they've got nothing else, they can't come up with anything new.
Critics of The Cure would say that anyway. It makes no difference. I don't know, Mary tells me I agonise too much over this. I think that because of the position that we're in, we're able to escape the inevitable criticism that we're bandwagoning, because there's like 3 songs on there that have got like a very modern 90s sort of, mank beat on them. But I like that. I mean, I really like some of particularly the Happy Mondays. I think some of the sounds that they get on the records are brilliant. It's like, so I've got no qualms about us dipping our toes in that water. I would be. I mean, if this was our first album, it wouldn't be our first album. We wouldn't release it. I would rather die than release an album like this as a first album, because of what I said right at the start about knowing what you want to do. But we're in a position where we can just do this. It doesn't matter. I mean, most critics probably will say run out of ideas, but I know that we're going to the studio in 2 weeks' time to record another 4 new songs, and so it doesn't matter that we've run out of ideas, because it's like I'll say, oh yes, we have. That's why we've done it. We've run out of ideas, and we're cashing in. If we were run out of ideas and cashing in, we'd do an album of original stuff, because we'd get an awful lot more money and we'd get out of the contracts a lot quicker. As anyone that knows anything, including critics, I mean, we're doing it just because we think it's funny. I mean, we started off with one idea of what Mixed Up was going to be, and we've ended up with something completely different, but actually something that everyone in the group thinks is really, really good and really strong. And we've even talked about doing some Christmas shows, playing the 12-inch versions, just like in clubs and stuff. And that's how infectious it's sort of become. But it's not something that leads anywhere. We're not going to end up doing like endless dance remixes. I mean, that's it. This album's it.